This is not the story of a bride waiting for a groom. This is the story of two women who chose each other again and again, until the world had no choice but to witness their love. Subscribe to my channel for more heartfelt Sapphic tales. And now, let's begin the story. The Architecture of Us. Part 1. The Foundation. The first time Elara saw Maya, she was arguing with a barista about the structural integrity of a latte art heart. "It's lopsided," Maya stated, not with malice, but with the keen eye of a curator. "The left ventricle is clearly larger than the right. It's cardiologically unsound." Elara, an architect who lived by rules of precision and balance, was instantly captivated. She watched, mesmerized, as the woman with the dark, intense eyes finally accepted the cup, a small, triumphant smile playing on her lips. "A stickler for details," Elara said, the words leaving her mouth before her brain could censor them. Maya turned, her gaze landing on Elara. It was a direct, appraising look that made Elara feel both seen and unraveled. "The details are everything," Maya replied, her voice softer now. "They're what hold the whole world together." That was 5 years ago. And the details were everything. It was the detail of Maya's thumb stroking the back of Elara's hand during a thunderstorm, calming the architect's innate anxiety. It was the detail of Elara always leaving the porch light on when Maya worked late at the art gallery, a tiny beacon in the night. It was the way they learned each other's languages. Maya learned the difference between a load-bearing wall and a partition in their conversations. Elara learned to distinguish a Monet from a Manet and why it mattered. Their love was a carefully, joyfully built structure. It was in the shared silences, comfortable and deep. It was in the explosive debates about modernism versus postmodernism that always ended in laughter. And it was in their intimacy, a language written in gasps and whispered promises in the dark. Their passion was a quiet inferno, banked by profound trust, a connection that was both hot with desire and pure in its utter lack of pretense. They were simply, completely, themselves with each other. Part 2. The Proposal. One autumn evening, with the sunset painting their living room in shades of gold and violet, Elara's nervousness was a palpable thing. She had a speech prepared, but the words fled when Maya walked in, smelling of crisp air and her favorite jasmine perfume. "What's all this?" Maya asked, smiling at the candles Elara had lit. Instead of answering, Elara got down on one knee. There was no ring box. Instead, she presented a miniature architectural model she'd spent months designing and crafting. It was a house, its walls made of delicate silver filigree, its tiny garden in full bloom. In the center of the front door was a single, perfect diamond. "Maya," she whispered, her voice thick with an ocean of emotion. "You are my home. Will you build a life with me? Officially. Forever." Tears streamed down Maya's face, not of sadness, but of a joy so profound it had to overflow. She dropped to her knees, pulling Elara into a kiss that tasted of hope and destiny. "Yes," she breathed against her lips, her own voice cracking. "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." Part 3. The Cracks Appear. The euphoria of their engagement was a golden bubble. They spent weeks lost in a world of caterers' menus, flower arrangements, and guest lists. Their joy was a fortress, but the world outside its walls was not always safe. The first challenge came from Elara's father. Over a stiff, formal dinner, he cleared his throat. "Your mother and I, we just worry. It's a difficult path you're choosing. People will talk. Are you sure you're ready for that? A lesbian marriage, it's not traditional." The words landed like stones in the quiet dining room. Elara felt her chest tighten, the old need for his approval warring with her new, fierce loyalty to her love. But before she could form a response, Maya placed a steady hand over hers on the tablecloth. "Mr. Evans," Maya said, her voice calm but unwavering, her curator's eye not missing his flinch. "The love I have for your daughter is the most real and traditional thing I've ever known. It's built on respect, loyalty, and joy. What could be more traditional than that?" He had nodded, but the silence that followed was heavy and cold. The challenges multiplied. Anonymous, ugly letters arrived in their mailbox, filled with Bible verses and slurs. Some relatives declined the invitation with vague, embarrassed excuses. A florist initially confused Maya for the maid of honor and not a bride. Each slight was a hairline fracture in their happiness, a reminder that their joy was a rebellion to some. The biggest blow came 2 months before the wedding. The owner of the beautiful, rustic barn they had booked and dreamed of called, her voice strained with apology. "I'm so sorry," she said. "There's been complaints from some people in the community. I have to think about my business. I can't host your wedding." The world crashed down. Ilara crumpled onto their sofa, the news feeling like a physical blow. It wasn't just about the venue. It was the hatred, the rejection, the sheer, exhausting effort it took to simply exist and celebrate their love. Maya sat beside her, pulling her close as Ilara's tears soaked her shirt. Her own tears fell silently onto Ilara's hair. "We'll find another," she said, her voice fierce even through her grief. "We will. Because I am marrying you, Ilara. I don't care if it's in a city park, a courtroom, or this very living room. The where doesn't matter. The who is everything." Her words were the foundation upon which they rebuilt their resolve. Part 4. The wedding. The wedding did not take place in a barn. It took place in the sun-dappled backyard of their best friend, Sarah. Their friends and chosen family, the ones who loved them fiercely and without reservation, become their architects. They showed up with string lights, homemade pies, buckets of flowers from their own gardens, and built a beautiful arch draped in ivy and sunflowers. As Ilara walked down the makeshift aisle, her simple ivory dress brushing against the grass, she didn't see a lack of a fancy venue. She saw a tapestry of love. She saw Sarah, her matron of honor, already dabbing her eyes. She saw her younger brother, beaming with pride. And she saw Maya. Maya stood under the floral arch, radiant in a tailored cream linen suit, a single sunflower tucked into her lapel. Her eyes, dark and beautiful, found Ilara's and filled with tears that reflected the golden light of the afternoon. This was their Sapphic love story, not defined by the challenges, but defined by their unwavering choice to face them, hand in hand. The officiant, a warm-faced friend who had known them since their first date, began. "We are gathered here today not just to celebrate love, but to celebrate courage. The courage to love openly, honestly, and without apology." They exchanged vows they had written themselves. "Maya," Ilara said, her voice clear and strong, though her hands trembled slightly in Maya's. "You are the art to my architecture. You taught me that the most beautiful structures aren't always made of straight lines. You are my heart's true home. I promise to always leave the light on for you, to always be your safe harbor, and to love you more with every passing day." Maya's tears flowed freely now. "Ilara, you are the foundation I never knew I was missing. You are my steady ground and my wildest dream. I promise to always keep you curious, to always argue with baristas for you, and to always, always fight for us. I choose you today, and every day." They slid simple platinum bands onto each other's fingers. "By the power vested in me by the state and by the love in this circle, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss your wife." The word wife echoed in the air, a victory, a declaration, a revolution. And as they kissed, a kiss that was both tender and passionately hot, a promise of the night to come, their friends erupted in cheers that were louder than any disapproval, any hatred, any challenge the world could ever throw at them. Part 5. The architecture of a life. The reception was a potluck feast of love. There was no towering cake, but a table groaning with pies baked by Maya's grandmother, who had bravely crossed 3 state lines to be there, savory tarts from the couple at the art gallery, and a lopsided but delicious chocolate cake from Ilara's brother. As the night deepened, they slipped away from the dancing, their hands linked. They stood at the edge of the garden, under the vast, starry sky. "You know the fight isn't over, don't you?" Ilara said softly, leaning her head on Maya's shoulder. "It's just different now." "I know," Maya replied, wrapping an arm around her. "There will be forms that only have husband and wife. There will be looks when we travel. There will be people who assume we're just friends." She turned, cupping Ilara's face. "But let them assume. They don't get to know the secret unless we choose to tell them. And the secret is," she leaned in, her lips a breath away from Ilara's, "that this, right here, is the greatest love story ever told." Their first night as wives was spent in a cozy bed at Sarah's, a quiet, profound celebration of their union, a hot and holy communion of body and soul. Part 6. Building their world. The challenges did not vanish, but their shape changed, becoming more mundane yet insidious. A year into their marriage, they decided to buy a house. The real estate agent, a jovial man, consistently directed his questions only to Elara. "So, is this for an investment property, or," he'd ask. Maya, with her curator's precision, would interject, "Actually, we are looking for our forever home. We need a studio space for me." Each "we" was a quiet, firm reinforcement of their union. They faced the paperwork of life. Joint health insurance forms required extra pages of explanation. A vacation rental host once emailed, "We hope you and your friend have a lovely stay." They learned to choose their battles. Some moments required a firm correction. Others were met with a weary sigh and a shared eye roll that solidified their bond. They became a team, experts at building each other up, at being each other's shelter against a world that could still be cold. 5 years after their wedding, they hosted a large anniversary party in the backyard of the home they'd bought together. The same friends were there, along with new ones. Elara's father came, this time without his reservations, hugging Maya tightly. He'd seen the architecture of their love, how strong and sound it was, and his initial fear had been replaced by a quiet, proud respect. As twilight settled, Elara stood to make a toast. She looked out at the faces of their chosen family, then at Maya, her anchor, her art, her wife. "They told us our love wasn't traditional," Elara began, her voice strong. "But look at this. Look at this family we've built. This is the oldest tradition in the world. People who love each other, building a home together, surrounded by people who love them. That's all we ever wanted. And it's everything." Maya stood beside her, lacing their fingers together. She didn't need to add anything. Her smile said it all. Their story wasn't about a single triumphant day. It was about the thousands of days that followed. It was in the morning coffee made just how the other liked it. It was in the fierce protection they felt for each other. It was in the way they continued to choose each other, not just in the face of society's challenges, but in the beautiful, ordinary, extraordinary challenge of building a life. It was an architecture of love, designed with intention, built on a foundation of resilience, and filled with a light that no darkness could ever extinguish. It was their masterpiece. And it was only just beginning. Conclusion. Elara and Maya's journey was never about perfection, nor about fitting into traditions that were never built for them. It was about choosing each other, again and again, in a world that sometimes tried to tell them they shouldn't. Their marriage became more than vows or rings. It was a living structure, strengthened by challenges, softened by joy, and illuminated by the quiet, ordinary moments that only they shared. In the end, the greatest masterpiece they ever created wasn't a gallery or a building, but a life designed with intention, built on trust, and held together by a love that proved unshakable. Their story reminds us that the most enduring architecture isn't made of stone or steel, but of two hearts choosing to be home for one another.